Welcome back to Third Phase UFO Report. We got a special for you. It's going to be amazing, the collaboration that we have obtained with Michael Schratt, military aerospace historian, has joined the team, and he's bringing forth all the information that he has obtained over all the years. Buckle up, everybody. It's going to be incredible what's going to be happening over the next months, years, in regards to some of the evidence that Michael Schratt has put forth for the first time on Third Phase UFO Report, and collaboration with Third Phase of Moon, along with Michael Schratt's incredible insight. Let's just get it started with the first historic episode right here at Third Phase UFO Report with Michael Schratt. Let's get to it.
Well, folks, military aerospace historian Michael Schratt with you today. Thanks for joining me today. I've reached a point in my life where I felt I had two choices here. Number one, I could just let this information pass away and be locked in a dark and dusty vault, never to be seen again, never to see the light of day. Or option B is to make it available to the general public. So that's what I've decided to do here, folks. I've decided to go ahead and make this information available, and anyone who's followed my research knows that I always provide references of where I get this material. I also provide a full color resolution, full color rendering of what these craft look like, so you don't have to imagine it. Now, these are all per eyewitness cases, and always want to follow up with some kind of an illustration just to get an idea across here. Now, today, I want to talk about the Otto Binder reports, and I've prepared a really quick slide here as kind of a historical background. Otto Binder was a prolific American author, born August 26, 1911. He died October 13, 1974. Starting in 1960, he published a daily newspaper feature titled Our Space Age, which featured things about satellites, rockets, and space exploration. By 1965, the whole thing changed. It was completely devoted to UFO cases. Now, these cases were sent to him from all around the world, and they'd be published in this newspaper column. This went from 1965 to 1969. The reports included a brief historical description of the sighting and a colorized sketch drawn by an artist named Carl Pfeiffer from 1910 to 1980. So he passed away in 1980. And where I got this information, this is stored at the Clarksburg Library, which is part of the Gray Barker collection. That's where these cases originate from. Just want to document my sources. Now, the color renderings were done by my artist, who's Tom Bogan. So if I fast forward here, this is a photograph of the man in question. This is Otto Binder, the prolific author. And then I've also included a photograph, a grainy photograph of the artist. This is Carl here in somewhat of a grainy photograph. So I think we'll go ahead and start this off here. I'm going to jump right into the first case. Now, what I'm going to provide for you first is the original sketch where we derive the color rendering from. So October 12th, 1796, on Columbus Day, over 170 years ago, Canadian observers reported an astonishing fleet of airships, UFOs, with portholes visible occupants, sailing over the Bay of Fundy from the Pacific Stars and Stripes, courtesy K. Larson. Interesting, they use the terminology fleet here, and I'm going to proceed on to the full color rendering, which you can see here. A couple points I want to bring out here. Number one, since this is 1796, this predates by at least 100 years the 1897 mystery airship wave. It predates that. It also predates the Foo Fighters of World War II, so that it predates. It also predates the June 24th, 1947 Kenneth Arnold sighting as well. Now, they use the term fleet, so that indicates that whatever these craft were, which were piloted here, they were under intelligent control. No doubt about it, because it said nothing about these things running into each other. Also, we should keep in mind that this is not, an unprecedented event. There is a historical legacy for these quote-unquote fleets flying over cities or other towns and locations. If we fast forward all the way to March 16th to March 18th, 1950, we had what's called the Farmington Armada, where we have nothing less than an invasion, you could call. This is vetted out by David Marler, who's the premier researcher on triangular UFOs. He had really done a tremendous amount of research on this Farmington Armada, where hundreds of UFOs overflew Farmington, and the whole town saw this. So this is not strictly an unprecedented event. We'll move on to the next one here, and these are all in numeric order here by date. November 13th, 1833, a crowd on both the American and Canadian sides saw a peculiar square-shaped UFO hover over Niagara Falls for an hour, after which it sped away toward the ocean. I think it's just so interesting. Okay, so number one, it's in the vicinity of water, right? So this could be a USO case. So we've got UFOs, we've got USOs, which are unidentified submerged objects. And what I want to bring out here is that when the Condon Committee report was delivered in 1969, they failed to mention even one USO case, not even one. So according to Jacques Vallée, they missed out on 51% of the entire phenomena. They just completely missed it in the report. I also want to bring out that this cube-shaped device, whatever it was, it showed no visible means of propulsion. It had no wings, no engine, no flight control, nothing. So wouldn't that be interesting if we could recover one of these and reverse engineer the technology and maybe figure out what the propulsion system is? That's something we should consider. So this is November 13th, 1833. Who's building these, ladies and gentlemen? 1833. We'll move ahead to the full color rendering here. You can see we've done a complete full color rendering. This is what it may have looked like. Just a dramatically interesting case. Again, who's building these things in 1833? This is before the Wright brothers, before Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, December 17th, 1903, long before the Wright brothers. All right, we'll move on to our next case here. 1882, near Ascension Isle, a British steamer came upon a gigantic UFO floating in the ocean at least 800 feet long, or nearly as big as the Queen Elizabeth, which slowly sank beneath the waves and vanished from sight. This is in 1882. Okay, so again, a couple things we should talk about here. This is definitely a USO case, so it's an unidentified submerged object. We're talking about something that was approximately 800 feet across. So now we're in the category, ladies and gentlemen, where we're pushing the boundaries of what's physically possible, man-made technology. Back in 1882, we're really pushing the edge of the boundary of what's possible here, what's even feasible. And if anyone doubts the USO cases are real, all I would do is I would recommend the book by Ivan T. Sanderson called Invisible Residents, where he tracks and documents hundreds, and we'll move ahead to the full color rendering here, hundreds of these USO encounters from the U.S. Navy. We've got cases from these Japanese fishing trawlers where they would be fishing and then something would be caught in the net, ladies and gentlemen, and they would pull this net up on the stern of the craft, and what they have snagged in their net is like a 50-foot diameter USO. This happened multiple times, and it's all within this book by Ivan T. Sanderson called Invisible Residents. So that's this case in 1882, and these are all in order here. We'll move on to the next one. July 1868, Villagers in Campeche, Chile were frightened by a giant armor-plated machine covered with steel scales whose twin searchlight eyes stabbed down brilliantly. I love the wording on this. Okay, again, this is 1868. This is before the Wright brothers flew. Now, this is interesting because a similar thing happened during the 1897 mystery airship wave, where we had these similar flying vehicles. They almost looked like birds that had these beaming spotlights that came down. That was absolutely reported in the 1897 mystery airship wave. We'll move forward to the full color rendering here. You can see what Tom Bogan's done for us. So again, this is predating the Wright brothers. We've got these steel scales that they reported. Now, if that's true, we could be looking at something that weighed approximately, between 50 to 100 tons. That completely takes lighter than airship vehicles out of the question. We're dealing with another level of technology here. If in fact this was a steel-plated bird, some type of a steel-plated flying machine, we're no longer in the realm of lighter than air vehicles. This is some other type of propulsion system that someone has perfected as early as 1868. So this is going to be the first 4 in this series. I hope to continue this series. We'll continue on with the sketches and the full color illustrations, and I want to thank you for your attention.
I want to thank Michael Schratt and everybody who's joining us right now. This is incredible. Again, this is only the beginning. What Michael Schratt has in his files and his possession is incredible. And what you're about to see in a progression of episodes that continue on for years to come is evidence never before seen by the public. Incredible enhanced photographs of the actual event, historical cases. This is just the beginning, so I urge you, if you're not subscribed to Third Phase UFO Report to get updates from our panel members, Doc Skinner from 1028 Productions, including Goofon and Dark Hour Paranormal, and the new panel member Michael Schratt with his incredible evidence, you need to subscribe right now to Third Phase UFO Report. Everybody, keep your eyes on the skies. Blake Cousins, we'll see you next time.